The week ends with 12 Thai schoolboys and their football coach recovering in hospital. Seldom, in recent years anyway, has a search and rescue mission captured the attention of so very many people. As someone somewhere said at the height of the Football World Cup, the team with the most supporters were aged between 11 and 16, called the Wild Boars and trapped in a cave in Thailand. When the 13 were first found alive, sheltering just above the water, deep inside the caves, we spoke to a member of the international rescue team. Ben Reymenants had been a key part of the search party. Then he became part of the rescue party, taking air deep into the caves, laying in the cable that would lead the boys out, risking everything as everyone involved did for 13 people they'd never met. He'd been on holiday in the Philippines when he got the call to help. He dropped everything and went. When we tracked him down earlier this afternoon, he was back on holiday, reflecting on an extraordinary fortnight, arriving to what initially appeared to be almost mission impossible.
The first days, I think, were the hardest of all, because it had freshly rained. There was a massive outflow, raging mud flows, which were really hard to fight against. But then the rain stopped and the visibility cleared up, and we managed to progress quite in a few days until that room where presumably the kids were. And then, of course, when the kids were found, the big question, how to get them out, because they can't swim or dive. And there was a lot of different options. They were working at the same time. Probably follow the media. Elon Musk offered to put a capsule inside. They offered to put a giant inflatable tube inside. And in the end, the option of using full face masks and putting the kids on a stretcher was the winning card. But still, that took about 24 divers and about 2 hours per kid, hand over hand, to get them out of the cave.
Hand over hand. So there are parts of that exit where you really were in a very, very tight space.
Yes, there was the smallest part was about a 1/2 meter high restriction, where it's really crawling on your belly and pulling the stretcher where another one was pushing it. True. Luckily, the kids are very, very skinny and very small, so that wasn't the issue. The rescues had more issues than the kids actually themselves.
And in that space that was 1/2 meter high, was that underwater?
Yes, completely flooded. So, which didn't help with the with the stress, and also all the mud was running into it, so the visibility was almost zero.
And Ben, so were the boys, as they were coming out, actually on stretchers?
Yes. First they thought, okay, let's try and give them a brief introduction into diving, but then. Yeah, because it's an extreme cave. It's more than 2 miles in, and they were so weak. They were so weak that they're like, and risk that they would panic was too high. So they're like, let's put them in a stretcher, and a full face mask with a positive pressure flow of oxygen to get them out that way, and it did work.
Ben, we talked to you before it all began, and you were really excited about the discovery, and you know, the fact the boys had been found alive, but you were playing your cards fairly close to your chest about getting them out. As we look back on it now, as the boys are safe and sitting up and smiling and waving at the world from their hospital beds, is it almost miraculous that they all got out?
Yes, I was consulting on a daily basis with a team of doctors in Malta, in Europe, and they did a sort of a quick math. What are the chances that they would be found, that would be all alive, and they would get all out alive, and you'd have more chance of winning the lottery, to be honest. And so yes, it is a miracle. They all came out, but the international team was so big and so much help that. Yes, I think that definitely added to the success of the rescue.
How long did you spend underground, Ben? In the what was it, 2.5 weeks in the end that this was going on?
Almost a week, but I didn't spend the whole time inside. I was allowed to come out for a few hours of sleep, and then the British team would take over laying lines, so we were taking turns around the clock. But yeah, wake up at 1 a.m. and go in again, and then because the time was ticking. We thought there was going to be heavy thunderstorms that would flush us out. So we get a bit paranoid about that, and that's why we keep pushing until we reach the room.
And of course, the pumps did fail at one stage, right? Which was terrifying. That was at the end of the process. Were you around when that happened?
No, I flew out just when the last boys, when the coach came out. I left before the whole media storm. The phone didn't stop ringing, so I needed a little escape. But yes, you're right. One of the they had two giant pumps that actually helped sort of emptying 2/3 of the cave, which was a major help in the rescue, obviously, rather than diving for a kilometer and a half. So by the end of it, there was a lot of dry parts where the stretchers could be carried rather than diving, because submerging these kids in the water has obviously certain risks. But then when one of these pumps blew up, and I think the other one also then stopped working, the cave, as what I hear now, the cave is completely flooded, and also most of our dive gear is still inside, and that'll have to wait until after the monsoon is finished in 4 months, if anything is left of it.
Which raises the obvious question, had the boys and their coach not been out by now, they would have been in very, very serious trouble, right?
Yes, that was sort of the last option if we couldn't get to them, or the cave would flood before the rescue started. Then we said two Thai Navy doctors volunteered to have themselves locked in there. But then we also checked the risk of something going wrong without any communication in that period of time. They get sick or whatever. Then yes, it would not have been a very good outcome. Survival chances are quite limited if you're locked in a small cave and sitting on bad shit, literally.
Unbelievable! It's an extraordinary story. Why did you do it, Ben? I'm not getting carried away when I say people were risking their lives, because a life was lost, and it was a life of somebody who absolutely knew what he was doing, who was absolutely familiar with diving, with caves, a former Navy SEAL. Why did you do it? What made you do it?
Good question. There's not too many people that are either insane enough or have that amount of cave experience and happens to be in Thailand at the same time. The British cave team had already arrived the day before I arrived, but then the Thai Navy SEALs don't have that much cave experience, so I was called in to sort of as support to the Thai Navy SEALs, and sort of consulting and helping them out, and especially the Navy SEAL that passed away. He was a very nice guy. He was actually not in active service at that moment. He was there as a volunteer, and because he was a bit old and a bit more experienced, as you state, he was helping out, placing tanks, and every time I would come up, he would come and shake my hand and ask information and the right questions. So yes, a real shame, and I'm glad that his passing was not in vain, and that all the kids got out safe. So it's yes, very very touching. 2 days ago they had the memorial. He received a royal funeral for him. So, but yes, still one life lost.
Would you do it again?
Just without an agenda of having 12 kids in there? No way, no, never. It's a horrible place, but if it's dry, it's a beautiful cave. Don't get me wrong, but no, there was a bit too many moments where I declared myself an idiot and for doing this, and so no, it's only because the kids were there. No, I would never dive that cave, and nobody actually dives that cave, only when it's completely dry.
Well, Ben, we're delighted you did do it, and thank you for talking to us, and thank you for your generosity and kindness and immense bravery.
Well, I was just part of a small part in a big machine. There was about 10,000 people, but thank you for having me, and yes, glad I could be of help.
Ben Reymenants, who was one of the divers who was central to the discovery mission and the rescue mission, talking to us from the Philippines, where he is back on holiday.